we need to.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's probably the best bet, yeah.
Well, we can do, front end just recording this stuff that we're talking about now because I think
we're already
like
live. I already mashed the button.
It's already
Excellent.
Excellent. Already ate the eggs.
We get to Twitter here and do a little retweeting. What's up, PETM Posse?
Hell yes. Let's see. Press that. Whoa.
Whoa.
Got to get my volume turned down there.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Sherwin, I'm waiting for your tweet to retweet.
I just tweeted it. You should see it.
All right.
Unless I spelled lap traffic PC wrong. Totally something I would do.
Nope, got it. Got it.
Booyah.
All right.
I did MOATF podcast too. I don't know if, Andrew, if you have that.
I do have that. I will switch accounts.
Sweet. Got some folks on. What's up? Who's hanging? Here at 6:45 p.m. or what's that in English time? Are y'all +4 or +5? Right?
5. It's 20. It's quarter to midnight.
Quarter to midnight.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Look at the dedication to the craft.
No kidding. Jumpy Bob, Beast, what's up with y'all? Good to see you.
There's plenty of wick of the candle yet to go at both ends. That's no problem.
Excellent.
Wick of the candle. I dig it.
That's it. Burning the candle at both ends. Don't you have that expression?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've used that before.
Oh, I was going to say. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The wick is the bit in the middle of the candle that you burn.
Yes.
Yeah, we're familiar with the science.
I've got it.
All right,
there's a country song. Burning my candle at both ends. Wake up in the morning. Do it all over again.
That's Brooks and Dunn, baby.
Get after it.
Hard working man. There you go.
Get some.
That's as good as I can do in terms of remembering the lyrics.
I like that.
Oh, I don't have any more than that either. But.
Rusty, that's a nice hat you got there, brother.
Dude, it sure is a nice hat that I have. This is awesome, man. Appreciate it. This thing is
absolutely
super cool. The pattern is very neat. The color is on point. Brandon, you are the best. Brandon sent us some hats, y'all. So I'm wearing it loud and proud. Matter of fact, I had my Atlanta Motor Speedway hat on earlier, and I've changed it out. Now I had to. I'm not hip with the drive and all that, so I took the stickers off and I bent the bill.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. No.
So
bent bill and stickers off. Like I don't understand that nonsense.
And
that's because I'm over 30. So.
And Brandon, I'm sure you're always sort of up to date on the stuff. But speaking of Atlanta Motor Speedway,
I have it written down, sir. I have it written down as conversation.
All right.
My man.
Good deal.
My man. 23.5 inches of snow, Roger. You need to just run. Just leave.
Wow.
Do something else. Good Lord. Upstate New York is...
Vacate that place.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I'd be done with that.
Before we left for Homestead, man, it snowed 8-9 inches the day before. It was amazing in the bad way.
I don't even drink 8 inches of beer at a time. Like that's more than anything that I do is.
I was not prepared to get the snowblower fired up that early. That's for sure. There is no denying that.
When we moved to Wisconsin for a couple of years when I was 8 years old, I fell asleep somewhere around like the Tennessee-Kentucky border and woke up in Wisconsin in January. And there was, 3-4 foot high, the snow piles that the plows, kick off to the side. And it had just snowed, and some dude was out there with what I called at the time, I coined the term snow mower, because I had no idea what it was. And I thought it was silly because it was just slinging the same snow that you just had. Like you're just moving it somewhere else. What's going on?
Yep. The bitch is when they, you get done, snow blowing your driveway, and then the city plow comes down and just pushes it all back 6 inches, 12 inches, heavy snow at the base of your driveway that your, little $300 snow blower can't get through. That's the real fun. That's when you've had a snow.
So my first day of school, my mom, she had asked about the school bus. and there was no school bus. This is a podunk little Wisconsin town. Oh, there's no school bus. Everybody walks to school. And like she's like, okay. So she dropped me off, and she went in to go get a lunch card for me so that I could have school lunch. Guess what? They don't serve no school lunch. We're a podunk little town. So
wow.
She went home crying. Evidently, I didn't find this out till way later. I was in my probably 30s by then. But she said she went home after that first day, crying her eyes out, and told my dad, "What podunk town have you moved me in with 4 feet of snow, no bus, and no food for my child?"
Oh, that's fantastic.
Man, when I was living in West Michigan, the plow they used to go up and down the main road, through the ranch, like it had a big old belly plow on it, but it was a backhoe. And had that big old swing arm that pops out.
Oh, wow.
That would knock the snowbanks down.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it was just chaos when that thing came through.
Just snow everywhere. Good grief.
Well, the fun thing is if we get like a late snow in April, which is not uncommon to get, 6-8 inches then, in May from the snow plows pushing it up 4 or 5 feet, it could be 70 degrees and you're still looking at snowbanks in store parking lots and stuff like that. That's not uncommon.
Yeah, they used to push it into big old parking lots, like where there was a grocery store.
I remember that.
Load it into dump trucks with a big old front end loader and cart it off to somewhere. I don't like what?
Oh, I love it. Well, if this is any indication where this thing's going to go tonight, we're going to have some fun.
I agree.
We're going to have some fun.
Andrew, what is
any word from David?
No, I've heard nothing, so I would just carry on, to be honest.
All right, we'll fire it off, and if he joins on, cool. If not, he's probably just scared of Lack Traffic Fantasy, and that's fine. So we're good. All right, y'all ready to roll?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to fire it off. We'll have about 40 seconds of silence on this end. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 161 of the Lap Traffic Podcast and episode 223 of the PETM Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. A little different intro song there, as that was a mashup with the PETM intro, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And the Lap Traffic intro. Very cool there. If you're on the YouTube, make sure you go check that out afterwards. No long open for me this week because there's going to be a plethora of tangents had, so I don't need to have one tonight on this a very special swap cast. That said, let's get everybody on the line making their 12th appearance on the show, claiming the top spot for guest appearances once again. They've not only invited me to their show numerous times, they've invited me to their home. They've invited me to their home track. You know who they are from the PETM Podcast, Rusty and Sherwin. Boys, good evening. How are you?
Welcome, y'all! That's right.
Yes, sir!
What's up, dude?
What's going on? How are you guys?
Dude, you need to do our intro every time or something. That was way easy for me.
Well, hold on. The challenging part is coming soon, so hold on. So don't think you're off the hook just yet. All right, and let's get one half making their 5th appearance on the show. I'm glad I did not make a bet with them this year, so I still hold a 1-0 record from across the pond. They do, they don't have a podcast. We will find out from the MOATF podcast currently. Andrew, sir, what's up? How are you?
Clark Griswold, how are you doing?
Excellent.
I can already see in the background you have gone all Christmas already. You love it, don't you?
I do love it. This is just one of 2 trees. The house is thrown up Christmas, man. It is Christmas galore in the house.
And
also, we don't hear your music. So are you telling me you've just put your Lap Traffic, your intro over Sydney Lett's song?
Well, so I would.
That
never
is
put
sacrilege.
I would never put it over. I faded mine out and faded hers up. So no,
That's all right then. That's
it
fine.
was
That's fine.
excellent.
It actually, you know what? It sounds really good. I think Sydney would approve, actually. So
Fair
yes,
enough.
yes.
Okay.
And now when we close this thing out, we'll close it out with her for the whole song too. I think that'd be a good way to close that out there for sure. All right. So this is going to be a true swap cast. The show's going to be uploaded on both Flat Traffic and PETM. Doesn't matter where you listen, just that you listen. We're live on YouTube under the PETM channel, which is awesome. So if you are so inclined and you're listening to this, go check it out on YouTube as well. It's going to be 4, maybe 5 guys hanging out, shooting the shit tonight. We're going to have some fun, tell some stories, have some fun with holidays, wrap up some NASCAR season. So sit back, relax, pop a top, and enjoy the show. That said, Rusty, who is the PETM podcast sponsored by?
Well, this podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PETM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month to get that free koozie. Best part is every cent this year, we're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. And so join the PETM posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. And our show is brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Can he do it in one take? Here goes nothing. Laura Henshaw, Aaron Bearden, Robert Keblinger, Coleman Clam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Carl, Brandon Crowd, right here. Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, John Bob Les Miller, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Grid, Third Younker Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, and Stacey Coleman, Matthew Camper, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, and Sarah and Barry. Woo!
Nice.
Woo! You gotta love it.
Nice.
Woo! That was fun.
All right.
That worked out. I stumbled on Brandon's name. That was kind of embarrassing.
Right? And, of course, have to do this in honor of the PETM podcast. What's everyone drinking tonight, boys?
Well, in honor of being here with you, we have a veritable bar set up. Let's see. Here's a beer, Storm Chaser IPA. Here's a beer that I just poured, Steady Hand. Ooh, Paradise Waits IPA. We've got Scotch. We've got bourbon. And Sherwin, what'd you bring?
Well, I brought some Irish whiskey just to poke the bear with Andrew and David. And I'm also drinking a Bell's special double cream stout, which is produced in Comstock, Michigan.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Andrew, what do you got
I'm all European, and I've just got the Rioja.
Look at that. Glass of wine. Keeping it classy. I love it.
Wrong show.
And as for that Irish whiskey, you'll probably get it easier than we will soon.
Oh, is that right?
Why is that?
Well, when we get kicked out of the European Union, we'll have to beg them for it.
Blexit or
That's
whatever
funny.
that
I love it.
deal is.
And I, of course, have my vodka Red Bull soda in my, and this is for the fourth wall on YouTube, in my Christmas vacation glass there, of course.
Nice.
All right.
Where did you get that from? You must have had that since 1987 or something.
Actually, a U.S. retailer, I don't know, you may even have this retailer, Kohl's, sold a four-pack set of logo glasses with that there. I've got one. I have to find it because I know I still have it somewhere, but I got a 4-pack of glasses from the Christmas Story too. So I rotate the festive glasses throughout the winter months here. That's for sure. Well, speaking of holidays, how was everyone Thanksgiving? I smoked the turkey. Rusty, I know you smoked the turkey. How was everyone's bird day?
Dude, it was awesome. What a great event. What a great holiday. My favorite holiday. Invite everybody over, make the turkey, make the dressing, and whatever sides anybody wants, we'll cook those up. Some gravy, have a good old time. Invite everybody over to the house, and just do it up. So I think today, what is today? Tuesday. I think I just finished cleaning up all the dishes. So that took a couple or 7 loads, but you know what? It was a great time. I enjoyed it. Sherwin, you went out to some friends' houses this time. A little bit different. How'd that go?
I did. I went to a PETM Patreon's house.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Or patron, I should say. We had a great time. Had a relatively decent little crowd there. Had 6 or 8 folks. My buddy Eric's daughter and son, daughter's like boyfriend / friend and whatever he is, and Eric's dad was there too. So it was good. The spread was good.
Excellent. I talked about it on the show last week. I boycotted the Lions. I ended up not going.
Oh,
I
man.
sold my tickets to some lucky Bears fans, apparently, I assume. And then I told the wife, I'm like, maybe we'll go down for the parade. We really don't check that out too much. And up here in the Midwest, the night before Thanksgiving is one of the busiest bar nights of the year. And that we did. And so we tied a good one on and got up and did not get off the couch except to go throw the bird on the smoker, and did not make it down to the parade, didn't go to the game, just sat on my ass. And
well done.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. Watched football and all that good stuff. So Thanksgiving's always kind of just been Lindsay and I. Christmas is the big one. We have 30 people at the house on Christmas, and I do all the cooking for that, which I absolutely love. And Rusty, I feel the pain. It's definitely a week cleanup from a big thing like that. So
yeah, no kidding.
I rest up for Thanksgiving to prepare for what's to come here in a couple weeks.
Well, it's funny you mentioned biggest bar night of the year on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, because I didn't know that was a thing until I'd lived in Michigan. And people were like, oh, yeah, we're going out tonight. And it was like, there was 8 inches of snow that had just fallen. Like, what?
It doesn't hold anybody.
What do we do? What? They're like, oh yeah, no, this is a bar night. We go out on Wednesday night. I'm like, that's not a thing down south.
Yeah, no, night before Thanksgiving is a bar night for sure. Andy, I got to ask, what do you guys do? Celebrate getting rid of our asses from the Mayflower, or what's going on there?
It doesn't even register for Thanksgiving for us, to be honest. It's what we call Thursday.
Had to go to work, had to get up on Friday. Nope.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I got to ask, so like here, in the States, because it's a holiday, Friday starts Black Friday with shopping and all that. Do you guys, is that like a thing for you guys or no?
Black Friday?
Yeah.
Black Friday is more like Black Month.
Oh, God.
It's Black Friday is they've stopped doing it in the shops, in the stores, because there was basically people fighting over the cheap televisions.
Sure.
We
still get that.
Oh, we have that
okay,
every
it's really
time.
an online thing now. So, but it's constant. It's Black Friday melds into Cyber Monday, whatever it's called, and it's like a whole month where they have these really fake discounts when, in actual fact, what they did was put the prices up for about 3 weeks before and then just reduce them again.
I subscribe to your theory, sir. I really do.
Well, but we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have any public holidays from the end of August until Christmas. So.
Well, you guys get like 3 weeks, so I don't want to hear any complaints.
What, at Christmas?
No. When's your like big country holiday where like everyone shuts down and goes to the Caribbean?
Oh, we don't have. No, we don't. We don't really have. We do have quite a lot of. We do get quite a lot of allowance, but we don't have. We don't have, like Italy. They do close down. The whole country closes for a couple of weeks, and it's a bit of a nightmare. But we don't get that. Everybody goes staggered. But we get the 6 weeks, the school holidays, when everybody seems to disappear in the summer.
That's great. Now, like for working days, how many like during the work year, like how many days off do you get?
Right now, I'm going to sound like a right. Am I allowed to say tosser?
Tosser? Are you allowed to say
what
tosser?
The hell that means here? So you're
because of my circumstances at work, I don't really take much notice because I can have whatever days I like.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you how many days we get, to be honest.
Rusty, you have like an unlimited PTO kind of thing, right?
Yeah. It's one of those, new age sort of companies, and I hope the CEO isn't listening right now and hear me, sit around and brag about it. But no, it's one of those, unlimited PTO things, and it's kind of cool. I've heard there's studies that, when you give unlimited PTO, people tend to take less time off.
Yes.
I'm not one of those people. So I might be the one where they have to change the policy. I'm like, hey, by the way, August? Nah. No.
See ya.
Yeah, and probably September.
Yeah, that's what the Germans do. They just say, F August. We'll see y'all in September.
Yeah, right?
Like, I get 20, and I've turned jobs down because it was only like 10 or 15. I'm like, sorry, I got too many races to go to.
I hear you.
See you later. All right, I got to keep the Thanksgiving talk for a minute. Andrew, you're not going to be able to relate to this, but Sherwin, Rusty, Lions lost, Falcons lost, rivalry Sunday, Michigan lost, Georgia Tech lost. It was a rough stretch there for us this past weekend.
You know what? The first half of the Georgia Tech game, I was very happy. We recovered I think we recovered a fumble. We recovered 2 fumbles. We had an onside kick. We scored off of one of the fumbles, so we're converting points and stuff. Our team, Georgia Tech, went into the locker room down 10 points and got a standing ovation from the crowd. So
that's awesome.
You know what? That was pretty cool. The following 35 points were not very cool in the second half. So,
but you had a fantastic time.
I had a fantastic first half. My dad went with me. Always good to go to the Georgia game with my dad. So yeah, I had a blast.
Well,
awesome.
And the wide receiver for Georgia got in a fight with Trey Swilling, and he got kicked out, which means he can't play the first half of the game against LSU.
Ooh, yeah.
And our guy didn't get kicked out.
There you go.
We just took people's shoes off and tried to tie them together. That's what we did. It's listen. I knew we weren't going to come out of that game looking very good. We started off kind of like you guys did. First half we were going point for point there, except for a missed field goal. But man, it just dominance just took over, and they embarrassed us again. Brad Younger just keeps opening. He just keeps waiting. He's just going to be collecting debt for me after debt because I owe him for 2018. Now I owe him for 2019.
Oh man!
He's gonna. I don't know what he's gonna have me do on that car. He's not gonna want me to do anything on the car if I'm being realistic. I'm just gonna jack something up on it.
Well, I don't know. If I was him, I'd be coming for knees. I would be cashing out in knees at this point.
Yep. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, PETM Posse. Real quick, if you missed last week's Lucky Dog recap show, make sure you go check that out. See how all your votes shaped out throughout 2019. Next week, the big award show. The hardware has been ordered. We'll be here by Tuesday. Can't wait to celebrate next week. Rusty and Sherwin, what did you guys have going on last week?
We were submitting all of our entries to the Lap Traffic Award Show and trying to make sure that we won every category.
Trying to swing the vote.
Yeah. So that was it. That was now we had 2 folks from Chickamauga on. Our friends Tori McElhaney, who writes for beat writer for The Athletic for Georgia Tech, which is pretty cool, and Corey Ryan Forster. And so they were talking about Chickamauga. We were talking about all the TripAdvisor top places to go in Chickamauga, Georgia. And one of them's called the Coke Ovens. So y'all got to go out, listen to all about the Coke Ovens in Chickamauga, Georgia. One of the top tourist attractions, if you will, at the place. And I believe Corey's words were, "Oh, yeah, those are right up behind where my buddy Drew lives in his trailer." Not Drew. Who was it?
DJ Lewis.
Yeah, my DJ lives right behind those in the trailers. We go out there and start fires and stuff.
That's awesome. All right. Speaking of shows, this leads to a perfect segue here. Andrew, what have you guys been up to? How are the families?
That's a very good question.
What is the status of the MOATF podcast for 2020?
That's a very good question. So, family's very well, thank you. David is currently feeding the baby, hence why he's not here currently. He's just sent me a text.
All right. Well, hopefully is he going to join in?
I did tell him to jump in if he can. Okay. I said just jump in. So anyway, in terms of us for 2020, we really want to carry on doing what we did. We made a bit of an error. We said when we had our break, we came back and we said we're back, and then it lasted about 3 weeks and we disappeared again. So yes, we really, really want to come back. I think, to be honest, we've probably lost our voice a bit, is probably the truth. We probably lost our way, lost our not enthusiasm, that's for sure, but we lost what we wanted, what we identified with, what we wanted to talk about. Sorry to bring the tone down and bore everybody, but
no.
You did ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of lost our identity, what we wanted to talk about, and we kind of lost our way a little bit. And we thought we'd found it again, and we hadn't. And we've been talking about it actually in the last week or so. We wanted to do something completely different, which we said we're going to do, and we did some test recording. And the effort and technology required to do what we want to do was so far out of what we were expecting. We thought that's going to have to wait a while, because we're trying to do stuff to do with health and well-being, and which is, I know, probably even more boring, but it's something we've both got into. But to do it, we need microphones and cameras in so many places, it just didn't work. So so in terms of the MOATF podcast, 100% we are going to do something. Yes, it will be. It may even be in 2019. It will definitely be in 2020, early 2020. It may even start straight. But what we're not going to do is start telling the world about it, because we don't want to let anybody down. We're just going to, if we do it, we'll just do it and start putting it out and just hope people continue to listen, basically.
Well, that's fantastic. I know I'm going to echo what Rusty and Sherwin are going to say. We miss hearing your voices.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I personally, I liked what you guys were doing, when you guys first started. And I liked what you guys did when you kind of came back, and we're talking a lot about, different Euro series. Not that I recognize the names, but hearing how you guys talked about how those other series ran, being able to compare that to NASCAR. I mean, I was able to relate to that. You guys threw in your European nonsense and all that kind of good stuff, which is always fun to listen to. So, however you guys come back, I know you got a listener and supporter out of me.
Great stuff. Thank you very much.
On my way home from work today, I was listening to a podcast about this particular episode was about this lady back in 1900 who would go around all these Kansas bars, and liquor was illegal in Kansas in 1900. And she would go to these speakeasies and stuff with a hatchet and completely destroy the whole room, and then preach to them how all this was horrific and blah, blah, blah. I could have been listening to the MOATF podcast instead. So, Andrew, that's what you've got me listening to now, is that kind of crap.
I don't know, that sounds quite interesting, to be honest.
It was actually pretty interesting, I'm not going to lie. The podcast is called Criminal. I think it was episode 74. So, but hey, I could have been listening to MOATF at that point.
100%. You will hear our voices again. We've just got to find what it is that we'll still talk about, obviously, racing and all the rest of it, because that's what we do. But we don't want that to be the sole focus. I think that's the problem. We want something else to be the focus. We want the racing to be like the part of it, but not really what it's about, because I think that's not our strong point.
Well, I think the name of your show, my opinion, therefore fact. I mean, hell, you could turn that into a general variety show of anything. And
yeah, but who wants to listen to random people just talking about anything?
My wife.
You might be surprised.
To your show a ton, just because she liked hearing your voices, the accents, and just the European take on things. I think you would have a very strong audience from a variety type show.
Fair enough. We'll take that on board, because that's probably where we were thinking.
All right, let's do. All right, so here's what I've got for the show. I've got like flip-flopped NASCAR questions and some fun holiday questions, just to kind of have some fun with Christmas, New Year's, and all that good stuff. So we'll bounce back and forth. Chime in, Rusty, Sherwin. You guys have the YouTube pulled up. If anyone has anything that you want to reference from that, please cut me off at any point in time. That said, let's have some fun here.
In that case, can we cut you off straight? Did you just say flip-flops?
Flip-flop.
Is that like as in the shoes?
No, it's in it's a back and forth reference.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry. I was thinking of like the flip-flops.
Yeah. What are we gonna do with you Brits, man? Well, you're gonna be like loners when you leave Brexit. Like, I mean, you're not gonna know what to do with yourself.
We'll be drifting towards. We'll just drift towards Greenland, I think.
All right, let's kick off with some NASCAR stuff. Let's do a round table here. I think this will be fun. I'm going to give you a fill-in-the-blank sentence. You guys tell me how you're going to fill in the blank. Give me a little commentary with it. Sherwin, we'll start with you. The 2019 season left me
very impressed with what TRD was able to do with a car that a lot of these guys didn't really like to drive.
I like that. Rusty?
Yeah.
Man, he just said that and walked away and dropped the microphone and everything.
See ya.
I will say wishing it was 2018. How about that? And after last season, me and Sherwin sat here and just stared at each other for like 5 minutes going, that was the best season of NASCAR I've ever seen. I don't feel like I can say that again this season. I want us to recapture some of what happened last year, or in 2018, that is. And I don't know what that is. If it's package stuff, it's package stuff. If it's something else, whatever it is. A lot of highs. Chase Elliott winning while we're there at Talladega. Holy crap, that was awesome. And Chase Elliott continuing to win a few times, and when you got the homers here doing that. But I really felt like there was a little bit of that magic missing. So I want to see that in 2020.
I'm with you. Andrew?
It left me, I think, looking forward to 2020 and 2021. It didn't. I agree what you just said about 2018. 2018, this season left me a little bit flat. Is probably would be the correct word. I'm looking forward to next year because of the shake-up in the calendar. In 2021, I believe, is when the new car's coming, I believe. So, yeah, I would say left me a little bit flat. 2019 left me flat. However, I was quite impressed with some of the younger drivers, like William Byron had a really great season, for instance. I think Alex Bowman had a good season. And I was quite impressed with some of the younger talents.
I feel you there. I'm kind of piggybacking off of both what you and Rusty said. The 2019 season left me anxious, if I were going to sum it up in one word. And I'm anxious because I think 2020 is going to give us a lot of the same of what we had in 2019. So I'm anxious for 2021 just to see. I got a feeling after next year we're probably going to lose maybe more than just Jimmy Johnson, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So I think we're going to have a new car, an even more shakeup to the schedule, and a changing of the guard with young talent. So I am anxious for 2021.
Fair. I would like to say though, I was thinking about Sherwin. It must have been back early November, I'd guess, because when Chase had a chance to get into did he get a chance to get in the final four? I can't remember, but he would have had to win a race, I believe.
Yes.
And I was thinking if he'd have got there, you'd have won the. I was thinking of you like throwing your sofa out the window, basically.
I don't think that's far.
That sofa's seen some miles.
Yeah. It definitely would have got knocked over. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
That thing would have gotten shot putted out the window.
Yeah, when Chase wins a title, I will have like mortars ready to shoot off in the driveway.
All right. Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, each with a cup ride, each coming off a dominating performance in the Xfinity Series. Who is set up for the best breakout season next year? How about Andy? We'll go to you.
It's got to be Christopher Bell, hasn't it?
Oh, I see. I personally think Cole Custer. I think he's coming into the best prepared car out of the three of them. I think RCR is so up in the air as far as their cup program is concerned. And I think with Christopher Bell going to basically an expansion team, I think with Cole Custer actually...
I agree. I agree. The thing with Christopher Bell, I think that team is going to get a lot more support than it has done. I think it's going to be more of a front row scenario, maybe even more so. Maybe just be essentially have become a satellite, let's say a satellite team of Gibbs, because they're not going to let Gibbs are not going to let, and Toyota particularly, not going to let Christopher Bell languish in anything other than top class equipment.
I would agree with you there. Rusty Sherwin?
I'm Christopher Bell all the way. Now, full disclosure, we had Bob Levine on the show a few weeks ago, And that dude is somebody you can hang your hat on. That guy, he is he's down to earth. He knows his stuff. He knows what he's got to get done. He comes from the rags to riches kind of thing, and he's incredible, dude. And like Andy said, with the alliances that he has now and everything, I don't see Christopher Bell doing anything but succeed, especially when you put him against those three. He knows what it takes to get in the not just winner circle but championship circle. So I'm Christopher Bell all the way on those.
I would have a hard time disagreeing with that, so I'm not going to disagree as much as I want to ask Brandon. So are we only talking about rookies, or are we talking about people that have changed teams? Or is that another line in your show sheet?
Yeah, no, I was just really kind of just looking at the big three moving up from the Xfinity to the Cup Series.
Okay, so I will build on what everybody's already said. RCR is not ready to win races, so Reddick's not it. And what I would say, based on, like Rusty said, our conversation with Bob Levine is he wants to be the next Barney Visser. He's prepared to be the next Barney Visser. So I don't know how you could not pick Christopher Bell in this conversation. Custer, I believe, as you said, Brandon, is probably set up in the most ready-to-compete situation.
I like the way you put that, yep.
But he's also going to, he's basically racing for not necessarily his dad, because his dad runs the F1 team, but he's under that spotlight of, his dad has this huge relationship with SHR, and that could be one of those things that just gets in the way of stuff, kind of the same way it's got in the way of stuff for Austin Dillon and even Ty Dillon to some respect. Under their fold. So, yeah, I don't think any of them are going to win a race. How about that?
Ooh.
Wow. That is a bold-ass prediction there, sir. Wow. I like that.
And also, in regards to Custer, when you think about SHR, you've got Custer, you've got Amarola, you've got Harvick, and you've got Bowyer. And let's face it, the only one of those that's championship material is Harvick, and he's about 50.
Yeah,
so
he's 44.
Custer's under a lot of pressure to be the next
45, I think.
Yeah,
44.
Yeah, it's in race to me anyway. But Custer's under a lot of pressure to be the guy that's going to move up and take that place, because it's not going to be Bowyer, that's for sure, and it's not going to be Almirola because they've done it by now.
Well, I think we've talked about over the last couple of years in terms of stables and the ages, and that SHR definitely carried probably the higher average there in terms of age. So I get where you're coming from with that in terms of the pressure for one person to carry on the legacy of a Kevin Harvick, a Clint Bowyer. Eric Almirola has had success there. I'm bummed with Suarez. I think another year probably would have done him well there, but that's kind of what's happened with Matt DiBenedetto too. He's bounced. He's gotten these 1-year deals. He's not really been able to, take the reins and get comfortable and relax because it's such a pressure type system. But that's such as racing there. So I get where you're coming from there, 100%.
Yeah. So let's think about it from this perspective. It took Chase Elliott till his third season to win a race. Do we think Cole Custer is a better race car driver than Chase Elliott? Ryan Blaney's only won 2 races. Do we think Cole Custer is a better racer than Ryan Blaney?
I don't know if it's a better racer. It's equipment. It's equipment. It's team. There's a lot of things that go into it. So I'm not saying better race car driver if you put them all in the same team and all in the same car. Let's go back to IROC. I know who. Cole Custer ain't winning that against or Christopher Bell or whoever. But with the teams they have, I think they can compete. How about that? I wouldn't be surprised if they won. That's what I'd say.
Custer.
Well,
Custer. Maybe I'd be a little surprised.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Man, that's a great way to put that. Like, when you look at it from that regard, that it took Chase Elliott 3 years to win, how long is it going to take Cole Custer or Christopher Bell or Tyler Reddick to get their first win? Man, that is That's a hell of a way to look at that, man. I like that because I can't answer that question.
You silence him. The mind is blown. The professor steps down.
Remember, Chase won 2 championships in the Xfinity Series when he had to race something in the order of 15 races with multiple Cup drivers in the field.
Yeah, yep. And that was the uniqueness, I think, this year in the Xfinity Series, which set it apart for me, was the fact that we didn't have that, which obviously that's what allowed some of the domination from those big three, which I think was cool. I think it was unique that we were able to get that for a change. But like you said, what would those numbers have been had Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, ran a few more Xfinity races?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to drag those kids down. Like, it's obviously very exciting for them to be moving up, and I think it's great. I think we have to be very tempered in the way that we expect success from them because the Cup car is just so wildly different.
And this is 3 of them, though. So we got 3 chances, right, for winning a race. In other words, it's not just 36 races, one guy. We've got whatever 36 times 3 is, and I'm not going to calculate.
We've got 108 opportunities for a rookie to win.
Yeah. So, there's a little more dice to roll here. So that's why I say I wouldn't be surprised. But, I'm starting to think, I'm a little bit on Sherwin train here. Pessimist.
I think one of them.
I think realist is really what it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch lanes here. Let's talk a little Christmas, little New Year's. They are right around the corner. What are some family traditions for you guys for Christmas and New Year's? Andrew, we'll start with you.
Oh, family traditions.
And I'm going to pour another beverage while you tell me this story.
No, there isn't one. I'm not a Christmas person. I don't celebrate New Year.
You don't wait. So you don't celebrate New Year, Christmas, or Thanksgiving?
Mother flipping phone.
You need to celebrate something, dude.
I'm not. So Christmas is really for the kids. My daughter loves it, but we don't really have traditions. I'm basically, my opinion of Christmas is I'm happy to cater for anybody that wants to come to my house can come, as long as I haven't got to leave it.
I like that.
I will cater for anybody, but I'm not leaving home. But as for New Year, I don't. It doesn't register me. I don't really get it, to be honest. I don't get the whole resolutions that I'm going to be a better me on January the 1st. Just be a better me on June the 1st. What difference does it make?
All right. Well, since you're incredibly boring for that regard, can you?
Really sorry. You can just cut me off if you want.
What are from a European perspective?
Oh, right. Okay.
Is there you guys probably obviously see Times Square, New York, and all that. Like, what's like a European Christmas and or New Year tradition?
Okay, so Christmas is basically family around the house. Everybody argue because you don't see each other that often, and you get fed up with each other after about 5 minutes. Eat too much, sit and watch the Queen's speech, which is recorded in about August.
Oh, wow.
And then sleep for the afternoon, have turkey sandwiches with the leftover turkey, and then drink too much, feel ill because you've overstuffed yourself, and do all the same again Boxing Day with the other half of the family that you didn't see on Christmas Day.
Dude, Boxing Day is fun with Canadians.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas Day. I don't know if you have that over there.
Well, no, Canadians do, and I got introduced to that a few years ago.
Okay. But because from a work point of view, I don't know what it's like. Not all industries are the same, but certainly our industry, we finish on the 20th and we don't go back till the 2nd of January. So we have a whole period of time off. And as for New Year, it's the same as everywhere else in the world. Just see the fireworks, like Sydney Harbour. They do it in Dubai and New Zealand and all the rest of it. And London's just the same. It's just fireworks. That's basically it.
Andy, even the Grinch left his house on Christmas. Even Scrooge left his house.
I don't dislike Christmas. I will literally... If you guys all want to turn up at my house Christmas Day, you're more than welcome, and I will cater for you.
Whoa, road
Just
trip.
Don't expect me to leave it.
That would be fun.
We will go blow up.
Your family would not be prepared for us. Who are these bumpkins?
Oh, man.
Sherwin, what do you guys do?
Really nothing outside the box. I try to coach my family into doing dinner on Christmas Eve night now so that we can do presents in the morning and then I can come home in the afternoon on Christmas Day. But traditionally we would get up, do presents, have a big breakfast, and then go do stockings. And then when I was a kid, my dad would drive my sister and I to the movie theater and watch a movie so that they could get us out of the house while they prepared all the food.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then he'd come get us, 2 hours later after they had a chance to kind of get everything together without any kids running around the kitchen. So that's our old tradition.
I've got a question about presents, because when we were kids, it was like we were up at literally before the sun was, just couldn't wait to open our presents. Mum and dad would still be in bed. But a lot of people I know, and this is, I don't know if it's just a British thing, they wasn't allowed to open their presents until after Christmas lunch. So these kids would just be sitting there looking at like this big pile of stuff, and they wasn't allowed to open it. Do you have that, or is that just weird?
That sounds like, what do you call it? British, I don't know, torture?
Torture?
Yeah.
Well, so we had a rule when I was little, when kids would wake up way too early in the morning, that you had to sit at the top of the stairs until Mom and Dad got up. You were not allowed to go downstairs and look at what was under the tree. Because there was a bunch of times where presents weren't wrapped because they were too big to be wrapped.
Right.
Yeah.
And they wanted
bicycle.
They wanted bikes, stuff like that. They wanted the surprise factor. So if you woke up at 5:30, great. You got to sit at the top of the stairs until Mom and Dad got up.
Rusty, what do you got? Any cool stuff?
So it's funny how the traditions morph over the years. When I was real little, we were allowed to open one present on Christmas Eve. And my sister, as cunning as she was, convinced my parents the next year that we always opened two presents on Christmas Eve. And then the next year was three presents. By the time we're in like our teens, we opened every present on Christmas Eve. And then we had like one present on Christmas Day just as a token, present. It's Christmas Day. You have to have that. So it's funny how it morphed over the years into my teens and everything else. My parents moved away back when I graduated college. And so this is the first year that they're actually back in town. They just retired and they came back in town. And I'm leaving them. I'm actually going to Japan for 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year's.
Wow.
What's really fun is that the Japanese, they have culturally appropriated Christmas in the same way that we do like Cinco de Mayo here, right? So their big thing is that on Christmas, they all order KFC. And I'm not lying. You have to order your KFC months in advance. Like at least weeks in advance. My wife is getting on the phone and speaking, as crude Japanese as she does, but she, can speak some. She has ordered us the KFC that we're going to have on like Christmas night. Yeah. Well, it's even fancier than that, because they just do it up. It's like you don't just order Mexican food on Cinco de Mayo. You go over there and shot. You can blow it out. So they blow it out at the KFC in Japan. So we're going to be there for Christmas this year, and I cannot wait. People talk about cultural appropriation.
I bet their KC's better than ours. KFC is better than ours.
It probably is. They talk about cultural appropriation as always a bad thing. If you can just kind of like roll with it,
roll with the punches.
Yeah, a couple times here and there. I'm going to get destroyed by the PC folks
like
here.
If they had a Bojangles over there.
But listen, I'm going to Japan, and I cannot wait for my KFC. I cannot wait to high five all the Japanese people around, and all right, it's Christmas. Woo! What do we do on Christmas? Well, we drink and
extra crispy thighs.
Yes, perfect. Works for me. That is awesome. I'm totally in. So, I'm excited.
Extra crispy fries in KFC. You're having a laugh, aren't you?
Oh no, extra crispy
fries in KFC are horrendous.
Thighs. Extra crispy thighs.
Yeah.
Oh, thighs.
That is the best.
And you'll be there for New Year's too, Rusty?
What's that?
You'll be there for New Year's too?
Yeah, so the Japanese, if there's one thing they do, it's fireworks. I don't know where they learned it or whatever, but
I think they learned it from the Chinese.
Yeah, good Lord. So it'll turn daylight for about 4 hours while they're shooting off fireworks. So we're pretty excited about that one, too. So, yeah, we're just excited. Off to Japan the whole time.
Hear those stories. Cannot wait to hear those stories. That's going to be good. I mentioned a little bit ago, so it's Christmas is big for us. We host the family here. Christmas Eve, Rusty, kind of like you said, traditions kind of shaping as you get older and stuff. As a kid, it was, me, my sister, my parents in the morning, open up gifts, and then we went to my grandparents for dinner. And that's kind of shifted a little bit now that my sister's married, moved out, kid, and Lindsay and I. So we go to my parents on Christmas Eve, and then the whole family comes over Christmas Day for dinner. And last year, growing up, I worked for a catering company, and that were very close friends of the family, basically relatives. So I love to cook. And the last couple of years, it's been a turkey, and I've perfected a cranberry stuffed pork loin that has been very popular as of late. And it's Rusty, you and I have talked. The smoker's a new addition for me, and the turkeys have come out great, and the food.
Dude, you keep talking dirty like this, there's going to be problems. I won't start taking off clothes.
That's going to be a toss-up. Do you fly across the pond, or do you come up here for dinner? And I smoked meatballs the other day and made a homemade basil sauce, and I think that's taken the crown this year. That's definitely been added to the Christmas menu. So
sausage or beef?
Ooh, that's a good
I'm sorry?
Sausage meatballs or beef meatballs?
Beef meatballs.
Okay.
Midwesterner.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. And then New Year's has kind of been like a very low-key thing for us. Maybe another couple or two might come over, and I'll do like a surf and turf kind of thing. And New Year's is very low-key. Like, I remember as a, early 20s, like it was like once or twice, like some buddies and stuff, like we did the whole big bar party thing, and it is just too chaotic. I'm too old for that. I want to enjoy football on New Year's Day more than I want to enjoy New Year's Eve. So,
oh yeah. Football for me. It's football. Football. But one of the things I can remember that always made me laugh, because it was the first time I heard it, and I stole the phrase, and I use it all the time now. Is I remember when we were, I don't know, 19, 20, I used to go down to my buddy's farm, and we would get absolutely destroyed the night before New Year's, and we'd come stumbling in the kitchen trying to get a cold biscuit, and a slice of cheese or whatever. and my buddies,
Sounds delicious, right?
Yeah, and this is John and Thomas's farm.
Oh yeah.
And somebody would be in the kitchen. Most of the time it was Neil, their dad, working up on a Bloody Mary and go, "Can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning." My man, God almighty.
I love it.
And we're all like, we are hungover as the day is long. And, their parents didn't care. They bought us beer when we were teenagers. They didn't, it wasn't a problem that we were hungover. It was just funny that they liked to laugh at us at how bad we looked the next morning. Like, y'all should have gone to bed a little bit earlier. And we're like, well, yeah, probably.
See, when we were teenagers, we used to, because we can drink obviously from 18 legally, so therefore you drink from 16, really.
Right.
Well, we drank at 16 too.
That's fair enough. And the thing is, what you say about being hungover. Firstly, when you're hungover, when you're younger, you just drink more because it just gets rid of it. Right. And I remember I used to drink that much, and I'd just get up in the morning. I'd be like, "Yeah, morning. How are you doing? I'm absolutely fine." But as you get older, the hangovers just get worse. So I never had hangovers at all when I was 19, 20. Just didn't exist. I could drink whatever I wanted.
But I remember. So it's changed for me. I actually got worse hangovers when I was younger than I do now.
Oh, really? Because I was, absolutely. I remember being, in college, or hopefully parents aren't listening here, but I remember being in college and having a hangover, and I'm like, oh, this hangover sucks. And I remember it being like noon, and I'm cracking beers and like, let's go, let's do this, woo, Now when I have that same reaction, this hangover sucks. This is a 2-day ordeal now. you know, and not that I'm just completely destroyed, but I don't even want to look at a beer for a couple days at this point. So, yeah, I know what you mean there. It feels like when you wake up, it feels the same that it did when you were 19, and everything is just, oh my God, this sucks. But boy, the recovery time is a lot longer now. It feels.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys there 100%. All right, let's circle back to NASCAR. I do have a couple other holiday stuff things here in a minute, but let's get back to NASCAR for a second. I know it broke after I did the show last week. Didn't really have a chance to talk about it too much. Another future Hall of Famer is leaving us after next year, and that is Jimmy Johnson. So pre-podcast for me, I didn't like Jimmy, and I didn't like him for the reason that he was winning and my driver wasn't, which in my opinion is a good reason because he's kicking ass and my guy wasn't doing anything. Now with the podcast, I have a deeper appreciation for everybody that drives in the sport. When you look at the overall achievement, 83 wins, 7 championships, what he's given and done for the sport. I want your guys' takes. Is it he's ready to just go ride his bike the rest of his life? Is it the lack of performance? Does he not want to learn the new car? Is it a little bit of everything? Where are you at on your Jimmy Johnson appreciation and the whole overall announcement of his retirement? Anyone, go ahead and start that one.
I'm happy to start because I am a Jimmy Johnson absolute devotee, as you probably know. So I remember seeing him at the Race of Champions at Wembley Stadium, probably 2008, maybe before that.
Cool.
And I've been a fan since before that. So I think he's an absolute. I like genius. I like Tiger Woods. I like Roger Federer. I like people that absolutely excel at sport. It's just something that I enjoy watching.
Sure.
And Jimmy Johnson and people like Michael Schumacher, even Lewis Hamilton, I suppose, to it now. So I love Jimmy Johnson. I think he's an absolute legend. I don't think he's going to go and ride his bike for the rest of his life. I think he's already committed that he wants to do other things. He said he wants to do an IndyCar on a road course. He said, I think you'll see him at Le Mans. You'll definitely see him at Daytona. And I think that's probably why he's doing it now, because he's not going to win an 8th championship next year. I think that's pretty bit of a stretch. He may win a race, possibly, but he definitely won't win the 8th. I think the reason he's doing it now is because he wants to do it while he's still young enough to go and do those other things. And good luck to him. I think he's been an absolute legend, and he'll be missed.
You know, for me, it's he's the last of that class. I feel like and we've talked about Kevin Harvick and others, but I feel like he's the last of that dominating class. That Tony Stewart, that Dale Jr., that Jeff Gordon, and here's Jimmy Johnson. And I you know what? I'll use a word that Brandon used earlier, which was anxious. I'm a little bit anxious because if you had a favorite driver, say that you became a fan 5 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, none of them now are still here. So I'm anxious that folks can hang their hat on somebody else or hang their hat just on the sport in general and enjoy what's going on. So. I'm a little, I'm a little anxious about it. I guess is the best way to put it. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? I like Jimmy Johnson a lot, especially once we were following Casey Kane so much, and he was brought over to Hendrick and everything else. So I don't know, but it does feel like it truly feels like at the end of an era, even more so to me than when Dale Jr. left. And not because it was Dale Jr. or whatever else, but if Jimmy Johnson had retired first and then Dale Jr. is retiring this year, I would say the same thing. End of an era of this group of folks, Sherwin.
Yeah, so what I'll say is I started off hating Jimmy Johnson because he won right out of the box, but he was also wrecking a lot of cars in the process, wrecking a lot of other racers in the process, especially in 2003 to 2004. Before he really started achieving the kind of success that led us to know what he was as a racer now. I certainly hope that he does some of those other things. I'd love to see him in an IndyCar. I'd love to see him do some IMSA stuff at Daytona, so we get to see some more of him in that, in that profession. how could you? I don't know that you can even quantify what he's done. I guess what I want to see the most is I want to see him get 2 wins this next year in Cup and pass Bobby and Darrell Waltrip. And be all by himself at 85 wins. Because I
like that.
I think he's earned that as a racer. So I hope that he's able to achieve that.
So real quick on the YouTube, I really liked what Beast said. He said, "My take on Jimmy Johnson's career: I'm just thankful I was able to witness history being made by seeing 3 different drivers get 7 championships in my lifetime. So that's really cool." So sorry, Andy, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to say regarding the win count. What he did in terms of the 5 championships on the bounce probably will never be done again because of the format.
Yeah,
so
correct.
So the wins, to me, doesn't really matter that much because that is such a unique achievement in terms of the championships.
Well, and the thing for me, when you look at his start in NASCAR, I think Jimmy he had a very unconventional start in that he only ran a handful of truck races, and his time in the Xfinity Series did not have much success. Like, he didn't go out there, dominate, and win Xfinity championships and move up into Cup. He struggled in the Xfinity Series, comes into the Cup car, and just starts knocking off wins.
Well, so here's a parallel that I will draw between Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson because I think it's very unique and it's cool history for the people who are listening that may not be aware. When Jeff Gordon was first racing for Bill Davis in that Baby Ruth #1 Busch car, Humpy Wheeler was walking through the tunnel with Rick Hendrick and heard something on the track, said, "Oh, we need to run and watch this because this driver's going to bust his ass." And it was Jeff Gordon, and he did not bust his ass. and it was Jeff Gordon that told Rick Hendrick, "You need to hire Jimmy Johnson. This guy can race a race car." And Jeff Gordon took ownership of that car when they made it because it didn't exist yet. They built that whole team and car because Jeff Gordon had faith that Jimmy Johnson was going to be a great race car driver. And boy, did he turn out to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Rusty, I want to piggyback on something that you said a little bit ago as far as if you've become a fan of the sport in the last 5 or 10 years, odds are the guy that you maybe labeled as your driver is not here anymore. And we all have guys that's our driver, and then we got other guys that we like. But if you're going to hang your hat on somebody, it's probably somebody that's pretty good. And if we run down that list, it's Jeff Gordon, it's Stewart, it's Edwards, it's Dale Jr., it's Casey Kane, it's Jamie McMurray, it's now going to be Jimmy Johnson, and perhaps after next year we might be able to add somebody else onto that list. That is a stacked card. But on the same token, if we look at the young talent in Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, we've lost 7 or 8, and we've got 7 or 8 that really can, I think, transition and take this change of the guard. And is it a stretch? Can we say that these guys could become the Gordons, the Stewarts, the Jimmy Johnsons? Will we see that? Will we not see that? What do you all think of the change of the guard here, so to speak?
Well, they absolutely can be, and my anxiousness is around whether the fans will follow. And so that's where my opinion stands, I guess, is I really hope folks can switch your hats around. Hell, I'm wearing this Chase Elliott hat right now after being such a big Casey Kane fan, and before that being such a big Rusty Wallace fan. So there's so much. There's so many people that it takes. We heard so many people saying, well, after Dale Jr. retired, I'm not even watching NASCAR anymore. I hope that that's not the case with everybody, and everybody can find somebody else to root for here. That's my anxiousness part.
Yeah. Well, so what I would say is I would love to coach NASCAR fans into the concept of, look, if you stay in this sport long enough, your driver is going to retire. And you need to prepare for that. Like Brandon, for instance. you need to prepare for who you're going to root for when Kevin Hart retires.
Don't say that. His bottom lip started wobbling already.
What did he say?
His bottom lip's wobbling already.
He's probably whimpering.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
But it's reality. It's like,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
you know it's going to happen at some point. It's not like, the Detroit Lions aren't going anywhere. Manchester United and Liverpool and Man City and whoever else, they're not going anywhere.
Yes.
Like, the players are going to move in and out, but the team itself is always going to exist. In NASCAR, it's a little bit different. It's more like golf and tennis, where if you attach yourself at the hip to a single player or driver, you're destined to be disappointed if you don't prepare for what's next.
Absolutely.
For me, I didn't know what to do when Andre Agassi retired. I was such a big Agassi fan. And I really drifted away from tennis in a lot of ways because of that, because I didn't understand how that transition really worked, because it happened at an age where I was like, I didn't understand it. I'll be a Georgia Tech fan for the rest of my life because Georgia Tech will always have a football team.
Right.
Same thing with the Falcons and the Braves and the Hawks. But with racing, it was like I got super lucky, and Rusty might share this same perspective, that I was already following Chase when he was 10. So, like, I knew what my transition plan was. I just didn't realize Casey's career was going to end as soon as it did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dude, you said it too. Tiger Woods, for example. I was a Tiger Woods super fan. And then
since I was 16 years old,
when he dropped off the radar after the whole incident with the golf club and the
and the 100 hookers,
this was the 10-year anniversary of that or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I went 8 years not really caring about golf anymore because it was who won the Masters? Some mid-30s white guy, some mid-30s white guy, some mid-30s white guy, right? And and then when Tiger is back and he wins a major, I'm all in again. I'm in. I love this.
That was couch flip worthy.
Yes, yes. So, I hear
it's
you.
Just as a racer, and I say racer, and I meant race fan because I don't want to accuse any of us of actually being actual racers. But as a race fan, you have to have a transition plan. You have to understand that your driver, has a shelf life, and you need to pick somebody. And it's in your best interest to look towards someone who is significantly younger.
Yeah.
If you're a Ford Racing fan and Greg Biffle is your guy and he retires, maybe you look back at Joey Logano, or you look at, Brad Keselowski and go, I got some longevity with this guy. I got some legs here. But, if you're a Kevin Harvick fan, like we know Brandon is, don't be looking back to Clint Boyer, because
right.
He's going to be gone in 3 years too. He's a hell of a lot of fun to follow, but He doesn't have a lot of longevity either.
Yep.
And also, he's never going to win anything.
Oh crap!
Well, he's not. Let's face it. He would have. He would have won something by now. You originally said. Can these guys take the baton? And the reality is they will, because they will make their own history. These guys will write their own history. These young guys. The question is, as I think as Russ said, is will anybody actually follow that history as it's happening? And I think they will. It's just it will take time for people to transition, because we had such an era of big personalities. But the reality of it is, a lot of the people talk about, Greg Biffle was a big personality and all the rest of it, but they're not memorable. In 10 years' time, will anybody really think Greg Biffle? Not really, to be honest. There isn't the big personalities we perceive to be big personalities now. In 5-10 years' time, they'll be consigned to the history books.
Well, I think it takes people a minute to realize that they could potentially be watching history. Like, I took for granted Miguel Cabrera being on the Detroit Tigers in his prime for a minute, until I started to realize once he got that Triple Crown, I'm like, this is somebody special. And when I go to the ballpark to watch Miguel Cabrera, I want to make sure I'm paying attention and in my seat when he's at bat. And I think people maybe took for granted a little bit Jimmy Johnson winning so early, so often in his career. And I think that's maybe happened with some other drivers in terms of we don't realize what we're watching and witnessing as it's occurring sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt, especially in racing. You don't win as a rookie in racing. Like what Jimmy did and what Tony did, there's only 3 guys that have won multiple races as rookies. And those are 2 of the 3.
Denny Hamlin, the other one?
Denny Hamlin is the other one. And these are all now we know because based on, the stats, they're all Hall of Famers.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, I want to shift guard here with a little funny NASCAR content because I know I'm the only one that is an avid and regular watcher of WWE and Monday Night Raw. Last night in Nashville was Monday Night Raw, and we all know what's going on in Nashville right now from a NASCAR perspective.
Kyle Busch.
Last night, Kyle Busch made history in winning one of WWE's, we'll call it parody championships, but he won it nonetheless. I assume you all witnessed that on social media at some point today. Am I safe in assuming that?
I did not see it. I
have no idea what you're talking about.
I saw it.
So, all right, I'm going to give a little. I'll give a little backstory so it makes sense. So, WWE has a championship called the 24/7 Championship, which whoever is holding that has to be prepared to defend that at any point in time. It doesn't have to be in the ring. Not your top superstars like John Cena or Roman Reigns. They're not built into the storyline for this. It's a lot of your mid-level talent that maybe doesn't get TV time that they might work into a storyline with this. So it can happen at any given moment. And so the current holder ends up winning it back 9 times out of 10, and that's what happened last night. So the champion comes down to the ring. He hides in front of Kyle Busch as a slew of other guys are trying to chase him down. And Michael Waltrip unzips his shirt to reveal a referee shirt. Kyle Busch rolls up the champion, gets the win, and runs up the ramp carrying the belt.
I'm watching it now.
I am too.
Kyle Busch won a WWE championship last night, which I appreciated the humor with that because that title is more humor based. So it was definitely fun. He lost it. They did not air him losing it. It happened off air, but he definitely won a championship in wrestling. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like the crossover there. I've talked a lot of wrestling on the show. I think wrestling NASCAR has a big crossover audience. And the fact they're in Nashville, they've done some stuff before. I know in the Xfinity Series, WWE sponsored a car back when one of their games came out many years ago with Kyle and Joey. So I loved it. I thought that was a good time. What do you guys think of that type of crossover stuff?
I totally agree that there's a huge crossover between NASCAR and WWE. So I'm totally in on all this, and I just watched the video of when it happened and when Kyle Busch was celebrating his win and then lost it or whatever. I think that's great. That's awesome. It's not something I'm in that like I'm part of or into or whatever. But hey, that crossover stuff, that is the future of what we're doing. We have to get as NASCAR fans, we have to get out of our bubble of NASCAR. Now it's an easy bubble to transition to over to WWE because of the crossover fans there. But I think getting more into other sports. Go throughout the first pitch in a baseball game, in a big baseball game. Go do something with all the rest of the sports, football, everything else. I think that's very important for the sport of NASCAR and its longevity.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm a huge fan of crossover promotion. I think it's the greatest thing that NASCAR could do because right now we're kind of the little kid at the table. Or we maybe even be at the kids' table in a lot of ways compared to the big four. And the best thing that you could do is seeing all those things. Kurt Busch is throwing out the first pitch at a Cubs game.
Kurt Busch is cleaning up his kitchen right now. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, well, whenever all that stuff ends up in Vegas, because we know the Raiders are headed there, and once the Raiders get there, they're going to get a baseball team one way or shape or form. And to get that stuff done, I'm kind of surprised Charlotte doesn't have a Major League Baseball team, but we know wrestling is sort of born out of Charlotte in a lot of ways.
Woo!
Woo! Of course, old Ric Flair lives in Atlanta, which is cool.
Woo!
But those are the kind of things that they have to do. They're good things to do, and they're things that they have to do because they need more eyeballs, and they're not getting eyeballs on the day the race actually happens. In order to get more eyeballs, they have to share personalities with other groups of people that make those people want to watch the race on Sunday or even Friday night or Saturday. Watch the trucks, watch the Xfinity Series, whatever it is that you want to do. But crossover promotion is essential for NASCAR.
Andy?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the whole WWE thing, you talk about cultural crossovers earlier on. That's something that's passed me by completely. It was WWF when I was when I was a youngster. I don't get wrestling. However, I do agree that NASCAR needs to reach out to the people that that only watch NFL or only watch baseball or only watch basketball or whatever other sports that only Americans play, and try and get some of those enthusiastic about NASCAR. I think Michael Jordan, wasn't it, was pretty high profile in Homestead, so that's always a plus because he's a big friend of Denny Hamlin, I believe. So something like him, being there and being visible can only be good. So
absolutely.
And by the way, they're starting a professional rugby league in the United States.
Yes, I know. That's really exciting. In fact, there's a guy called Ben Foden, plays for New York team currently. He used to play for our local team in Northampton.
Atlanta is launching their team this spring.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
I want to go.
It is you guys. You go and watch rugby union. If you think American football's that you think it's like what you call football, but we call American football. We like America. I love American football. I actually really enjoy it. But if you I used to play it as an under 18. But if you think they're hardcore, you go and watch a game of rugby. Those people.
I agree.
Here's the funny thing, Andy, is Rusty and I have watched rugby together, and we know there's more people on the field than there are in American football. But having watched 10 years of triple option football here at Georgia Tech as season ticket holders, what those rugby plays look like are very much what we saw here in American football, just much more fluid because there aren't as many whistles. Like the way they ran the plays, the way they spaced, the defenders and the blockers and everything, it's all very similar. So it's really neat to watch. I like watching it.
I like watching new sports.
It's my number one. I mean, my number two sport, motor racing of any description, my number one. But rugby, I'm a season ticket holder. We're currently top of the English Premiership, so I can't complain.
That's something that me and the wife can get into as well, because neither one of us really know the rules or whatever. And so coming in blind in both of those is perfect because, like football, obviously, I grew up watching football and all that. She grew up playing soccer and played not professionally, but she played a lot of high-level soccer, so she knows soccer way better than I do, or European football. So that's something that once we got into soccer, she was huge into. But both of us got into hockey around the same time and loved hockey. So I think that's definitely a sport I can rugby is that I can as we said before, hang a hat on and hey, let's start following this. Let's see what happens and get excited.
Yeah, and I think you guys actually did yourselves quite a lot of. I mean, your female team are really good, and I think the guys did a really good job in Japan in in September. So yeah, I think when you look at 1994 when you had the Football World Cup and what that did for what became Major League Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe America are trying to get the Rugby World Cup. So I think, and it is a market that all sports want to get into, let's face it. It's the biggest consumer market, I guess, probably in the world still. So, all sports want to get some of that, and, NBA and NFL sort of eyeballs, don't they?
Yeah, well, I don't want to make an assumption because you know what that does, but the thing that the United States has over almost every other country, other than maybe yours, is we have the infrastructure already built. So to host an event like the Rugby League of Nations or the Rugby World Cup is very easy for us to do. We just repaint the fields and the stadium's already there.
Yeah, we're the same. We're pretty lucky. We're because of Premiership or the Premier League, we've got some pretty big. Bear in mind, we've only a country of 50 million people. We've got some, huge stadiums. So we can host. We're pretty lucky, like you say. There's not many countries that have got that don't have to build infrastructure, and we're one of them, and you are, and probably Japan, France and Germany and maybe Italy. And Spain, Brazil.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Just look at Atlanta. Just look at Atlanta. I can name 6 fields right now that can hold 50,000 people within 30 miles of Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that.
See, everything's within 30 miles of me because we live on an island.
Well, there's that.
Well, I would suspect that if this the rugby, U.S. Rugby League, I think is what they're calling it, or Major League Rugby, something like that, something along those lines. If it gets any legs at all, then we'll be in the running for one of the cycles of the international tournament, which would be cool. Yeah. And I can guarantee you, Rusty and I will go to at least a match or two next year, just because we'd love to check out new stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I thoroughly recommend it. It's great sport.
Absolutely. I'm in.
It's a hell of a lot of fun to watch on television. I can say that for sure.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that.
Sorry, Brandon, we just hijacked your podcast.
No, hey, that's all good. Because I literally have nothing to contribute to that, and I'm not going to pretend to contribute stuff like that. So
that's right. That'll be me when you start talking about truck racing.
Fair point. I love it. All right, let's first of all, I have to completely sidestep. Rusty, Sherwin, I now know why you guys typically go about an hour and 15 minutes, because I got to piss like a racehorse, and I got a ton of shit still to cover here. So.
Pacing.
I want to tell Andy something really quick. So this past weekend at the Georgia Tech American football game, I was looking around at the people that were around me, and I saw somebody that I thought I recognized. And I waited for my opportunity when she went to throw her beer can away in the trash can that was closest to me, and I asked her, "Is your name Kelly?" And she said, "Who's asking?" I said, "I'm a huge fan, and we grew up in the same hometown." And it was Kelly O'Hara, the star left back for the U.S. women's national team.
That is so cool.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That is, actually.
And she said, "Yep, I'm Kelly."
and at that point, she shook my hand
though?
and gave me a hug, and that was it.
It was just a random Kelly then. It was the right Kelly.
No. I knew what I was getting into. I knew it was her. I wanted to approach it very innocently. Like, is your name this? Yeah.
Excellent.
So I got to meet Kelly O'Hara.
Super
Excellent.
cool.
All right, Rusty, Sherwin, I'm going to let you guys take the helm on this next one, because I'm going to go take a stage left exit for a second here. So take the helm on this. Ed Clark, go. I'll be right back.
Ed Clark,
okay.
Go. Good grief. Ed Clark, if y'all don't know, president of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Here's the weird thing. He was president, and then what's his butt? Not Brandon.
Hutchinson.
Hutchinson.
It's Brandon in it. Brandon Hutchinson.
It might be Brandon Hutchinson.
Yeah.
And he is president. And then now, if you go look up Ed Clark again, he's president or something. Something going on.
President Emeritus, maybe, or
yeah,
something.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but he's still got something to do. Y'all, it's like what's his butt that was at Michigan International Speedway. Now that Brandon's gone, I don't know what to say other than Ed Clark knows that track. He knows what's going on. He's got the hookup. He's the man. So that's my take.
Yeah, well, one of the coolest conversations that we've had with probably anyone that works in the sport is listening to Ed point to every place on the track where he thought a weeper was.
Yeah.
Because he walks the track with his staff, and they figure out what they need to seal, what they need to watch out for. Ed, I had my first call with Ed about 5 years ago when I lit up Atlanta Motor Speedway because of the change of date to February, which is cold here, as it turns out, real cold. And he just, basically said everything you thought you might hear from a fan. He said, yeah, I'm pissed off too. And, when you hear somebody say they're pissed off about something that you're pissed off about, you start to sort of identify with that process and start to really, get ingrained with that person. And it was just a few years ago that we were down our very first opportunity to be media at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're standing off stage, and Brandon's driver, Harvick, had just won at Atlanta.
Yep.
And Ed walks up to us, recognizes us, and he just starts talking. And, 40 minutes later, we part ways, but, he's that kind of guy.
Well, and we were trying to give him the space, hey, I know you got a lot to do. It's great to see you, Ed. Thanks for hanging out with us. He's like, no, hold on one second. I got more to show you. And we're like, okay, all right, this is your time now, not our time. So, it was really cool. Ed Clark's a great guy. There you go, Brandon.
Just send me the recording of Brandon making his drink. I'm going to use that as my ringtone, I think.
Yeah. Ed Clark is a fantastic human being, and he loves racing to the T.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
When I saw that announcement, that's the first thing I thought of was you two talking on your podcast about the Weepers. When I saw it the other day, I thought the first thing that came to my head was the Weepers that you guys talked about when you spoke to him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was totally cool.
I think that's I came in late, obviously, but I picked up pretty quick there where you're going with that.
I think you were thinking of Roger Curtis at Michigan.
Roger Curtis, yep.
Absolutely.
Good pull.
And again, and I've said this ad nauseum on my show, is that the NASCAR community has welcomed people that want to participate in the sport with open arms. You guys have obviously with AMS, me with MIS, MIS going to the extreme of, hey, if there's a track that you want to go to, let us know. We'll reach out to them. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be at Homestead as media. That was one of the coolest things in the world.
Yeah.
The icing on the cake would have been if Harvick had won. But I know I witnessed history with Kyle Busch winning that championship, and I will relish that and tell stories about that, for years to come. And to see someone that you've gotten to know over the years, like you guys have with Ed.
All right, let me stop you real quick. I got to pull Brandon.
Yes.
Be right back.
All right. I'll be here. You can keep talking to me.
Yes. It's one of the coolest things that has happened with this, and it's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree with you 100%. I think that's one of the craziest things about doing some of this stuff that we've been doing, both you and us, is the opportunity to meet people in the industry who will give you an opportunity to be in places that you wouldn't ordinarily get to be if you were just, quote unquote, a civilian. And one of the coolest things that I think I've ever heard was when we came back down to the media center at Atlanta, and Mandy said, "Did you go everywhere you thought you could go?" "Yes." Did you go anywhere you weren't supposed to go? Yes. She's like, well, that's the way this is supposed to go. So you did it right. You know, like we got the thumbs up from, oh, you found a place you weren't supposed to be in. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, find somebody that says no.
Right.
Because we had you can't say no sticker.
Right. Right. Hey, everybody, I'm back.
Excellent.
Just FYI, I'm back. I might have chipped the porcelain on that one, but hey.
All right, let's do one more transition to a Christmas-themed topic here, and then we'll close it out with some NASCAR stuff. All right, everybody's Sherwin, you mentioned it. You guys went to the movies on Christmas when your parents wanted to get ready to cook. The movies are very big around the holidays, whether it be Thanksgiving, Christmas, that comes into a lot of tradition for families and stuff like that. So what I want now is your top 3 Christmas movies. And I'm going to give you my 3 off to start because I know you guys probably weren't prepared for this question. So I'm going to rattle off my 3 here.
I've already got my 3. We're good.
Oh, yeah.
Christmas Vacation, The Christmas Story, and Elf. And I know that I'm going to take some flack for not including some older ones, maybe like White Christmas, even Santa
Well, don't
Claus
say them because they might
Alan.
be in ours.
Huh?
I said don't list them all off because we can talk about those after the fact.
All right. All right. So those are my 3. Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story, Elf. Sherwin, what do you got?
Die Hard.
I knew it.
Yes.
I knew it.
Gremlins.
Yes.
Christmas Vacation.
Well done.
Ah,
I cannot. I can't be a red-blooded American without Christmas Vacation. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Shoot, what's the one with Christmas Story? That's one.
Yep.
Christmas Story,
Yep.
big time. And y'all, here's a tradition. Me and the wife, when we are decorating the tree, we watch the SpongeBob Christmas Special. So for me, SpongeBob Christmas Special, Christmas Vacation, and Christmas Story, that makes up Christmas for me right there.
I love it. Andrew.
So I'm slightly different because we have certain films that are always shown at Christmas. I mean, they are shown at the times of the year, but you only ever really watch them at Christmas. So they're not so much Christmas films, but just films. And they are my 3 films I'd like to watch at Christmas are, well, White Christmas being one. I would say probably Singing in the Rain.
Bing Crosby.
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah,
And then Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah, Singing in the Rain, and probably something like the things, The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, The Wizard of Oz, maybe. I love The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz happens. All right.
Yeah, I love The Wizard of Oz. So those are things that are always on around Christmas.
Now, have you seen Christmas
Oh,
Vacation?
The Sound of Music as well. The Sound of Music.
Yes, that one always plays around Christmas.
Yeah, I love The Sound of Music.
Uh,
Have I seen? No, I have seen Christmas. I've seen it once, like, because I'm obviously a couple of years older than you, like, and I've seen it once, probably about when it came out.
Once. You've gone your whole life and only watched that movie one time.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Shitter's
Yeah.
full.
Sorry.
Like, I mean, come on.
Wow. I think you need to watch that 10 times between now and Christmas, and then we can have a conversation about the movie.
why is the
can't
carpet
even
wet,
talk.
Todd?
God.
I don't know, Margot.
Here's how Christmas Vacation I am. I went on Home Depot's website. They didn't even sell this in the store. I overpaid for this item, I understand. And I've never been, like, for my Christmas lights display outside, it's all lights. I've never been a big inflatable guy. And they had an inflatable of the RV from Christmas Vacation with Christmas lights on it. And that thing is blown up front and center in the front yard right now.
My man. Well done.
Clark, that there is an RV.
And we're taking it with us when we leave here next month.
Next month. I want to tell Andrew something because maybe he'll appreciate it or maybe he won't. You mentioned Sound of Music. I think the
Yep.
sexiest voice in the history of the world is Julie Andrews.
See, I think it's Karen Carpenter.
All right, well, I'll have to look her up.
I think it's Fran Drescher. Wait, what?
Where? Where'd she dress?
Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews got a great voice, though, I will say. But Karen Carpenter. It's like listening to chocolate melt. Listening to Karen Carpenter.
Wow. What?
Wow.
See, that's that British perspective that we just don't get here. Like
I don't
chocolate
even know.
melt.
I don't even know
Are
how
you kidding?
to. That doesn't compute for me. I don't even know how to.
I don't know. I don't know who that
is.
is, but I'm gonna go look it up.
You never heard of Karen Carpenter?
Well, no, I haven't heard.
I mean, you got to give me a
compared it to
reference.
Chocolate milk.
I don't know the name.
Right, okay, no, I made that one up off the top of my head. That's not like something we use all the time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Karen Carpenter. You never heard of Karen? You did the Carpenters.
Yeah. No, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm the only one.
No, you're not.
All right. And one more Christmas one here for you guys. It made Rusty and mine's Christmas list with the Christmas story. So, what was your childhood Red Ryder carbine action 200 shot range model air rifle gift that you wanted as a kid?
Ooh, I got a good one. And this is nerdy as nerd gets. My grandparents got it for me. It was a calculator watch. And I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe they got me the calculator watch back in whatever it was, 1989 or something.
Can I upset the apple cart here?
That's fine. That's fine.
I have never seen A Christmas Story.
Well, that's upsetting. Pretty heavy. Well, so that was his.
I don't even know what it is. So that's
Well, that
we're
was
on
guys
the
just
same
missed
page.
out on life.
the point. Is that was like his whatever you want to call it, holy grail of Christmas gifts that he wanted and he got.
Okay. So for me,
so
it
when you
was
mentioned
Legos.
rifles, I was thinking I can't partake in this conversation because we're not allowed to have them anyway.
Yeah, no, that was just the premise of the movie. Was
Oh,
kid
right.
wanted that for like.
Yeah.
that
I was
the whole
thinking,
premise
well,
of the movie.
I was thinking, well, no, we're not allowed rifles, so it's just,
Tonka trucks and Legos.
So you got like super excited about those. Under
Oh,
the tree.
I had a fleet of Tonka bulldozers.
My man.
The old metal yellow ones.
I even had the cement mixer one.
Oh,
I had the crane. I had the dozer. I had the dump truck. I mean, I had a full construction park fleet of Tonka trucks.
That's awesome.
and mine was anything Star Wars.
Star Wars. There you go.
Yeah, and I've still got my X-wing fighter, my Attack Walker, my Millennium Falcon, my Rebel Transport, my Speeder. I even had the rare Luke Skywalker with the green lightsaber and the cloth cape.
Look out.
But I lost the cloth cape, so it's worthless now.
Oh.
And I've still got them. I've still got all the toys. They're all here, still in the loft.
Well, it's not worthless if it means something to you. That's the thing.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's true.
Mine was, I wanted the original Nintendo system, and the year that it kind of came out, my sister was born, who's 7.5 years younger than I am.
Mistake.
And,
Oops.
I told my parents, like, man, I want the Nintendo, and nope, it's not going to happen. You're not getting a video game and all this. And man, if they didn't surprise the hell out of me that Christmas morning, I was
My man.
happier than a pig
Get
in
you some Mario.
mud, man.
I don't want to say
Hell yeah.
we wanted the
You
Nintendo, but we ended up with the Sega.
You
Oh.
don't know you're born. Do you remember the Atari system that literally had 2 blocks and a white thing
Hold
that
on,
just?
baby.
Oh yeah.
Oh
we had-
shit! Yeah.
Oh,
No,
you-
I had
You do
that.
remember it then?
I had that.
We had it grown up. Yep.
It
I'm
had
with you.
3 games on it. One was like hockey, one was like tennis, and there was another
That's
one.
it.
Oh,
But
we
they're all
had
the same.
Yahtzee
Space Invaders.
and Cubert and one other game I can't remember that we used to play all the time.
No, I mean Andy's talking about the one where you just had like a tube that
Oh, yeah.
you moved back
Yes.
and forth.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, you do remember it then? I thought you'd be a little
Yeah.
too young for that.
No, we're not.
No, Dad hooked it up on a 13-inch black and white TV down in the basement and goes, check this shit out. And we missed, I play that thing a lot.
right.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, let's switch it back to NASCAR here for a couple to close this thing out. Got a couple of them here. Saw it on J-Ski today that CBD is not going to be allowed as an advertiser in NASCAR.
That's stupid.
This is not the first time that NASCAR has done this. I think Slayer, the rock band, was pulled at some point this year. Like, there have been times where NASCAR has just pulled the plug on stuff. We talked about it earlier as far as cross promotion's concerned. We've talked about in terms of, the sport's expensive, bringing new people into the sport obviously comes with new advertisers, whether you use it, don't use the product. What do you guys think on NASCAR putting a limitation as far as who's allowed to advertise in the sport?
Well, I think they're short-sighted in allowing or disallowing, etc. I thought the Slayer thing was hilarious. I don't know. One of Rusty's life mantras is people take things a little too seriously, too much. And that goes into advertising. It goes into everything else. And so if you start taking too seriously, we're not going to allow CBD because it is an extract of something that we just don't agree with. Like we're talking about, we're 3 levels deep into I don't agree with this thing to get all the way down into it. So for me, it's just more like why don't we allow something in here? I'm not going to get into the political aspect or whatever else. Maybe Sherwin will. I don't know. But for me, it's just like, why give up money, period? I guess that's it. Why give up money? We're NASCAR. We need money. Why are we taking some weird stance? I listen to podcasts that have CBD oil advertisements in it. And, I usually just skip through them or whatever. But it's not something that, like, when I listen to it, I go, oh, my God, I can't believe this guy's doing blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just weird. Here's the thing. Who is going to stop watching NASCAR because they have some CBD sponsor? I don't think anybody. And so they're just doing this as a, surface level placation, whatever you want to call it. There you go. Rusty Soapbox. Sherwin.
All right, I don't want to go on too big of a rant here, but if we're going to pretend that we want younger people to get involved in this sport and we're going to refuse CBD companies from being involved in this sport, they're basically opposite things. They're saying opposite things, right? There's not CBD. Even in Georgia, I use CBD. It's great for my knees. It's great for my lower back. There's no hyperactivity to it. There's no brain activity to it. It's not a drug. It's essentially like taking an herbal remedy.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that they are finding problematic about CBD? And then let's stack it next to, we want to do everything we can to get the next young wave of fans in here. Well, the next young wave of fans think CBD is cool as shit.
True. I'm sitting here wearing a Hooters hat, and I'm drinking. I'm not drinking it, but say I'm drinking a Budweiser or a Coors Light, and we're cool with all that, and we're not cool with this extract from something that you don't like. You know what?
It's just ignorance.
Get over ignorance.
It's a big fat bucket of ignorance.
Yep. There you go.
Andy, you got anything?
No, I can't add to it. I think life's too short to care, to be honest.
Yes,
yeah.
my man.
If I'm being honest, it's nothing I even thought about.
If the NBA and the NHL have no longer test for anything related to THC or CBD, and the NFL is considering walking back what their margins are for what they test for, why should NASCAR care?
From a sponsor perspective.
From a sponsor perspective. We're not talking about the drivers doing the stuff.
Right.
We're talking about from a sponsor perspective.
Capital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have money. They got cash to spend. Oh, by the way, because banks are having a hard time figuring out what to do with it, might as well take a load of cash.
I bet they'd take money from payday loan lenders as well.
Right.
Which are literally the worst people in the world, but they won't do it.
Yeah, let's let Pfizer and Merck and everybody else advertise all they want on their
heroin,
on their
products,
prescription heroin, but let's be worried about CBD, which is completely
innocuous, is what it is.
Innocuous.
Yeah.
All right. This one really kind of, I didn't know how to interpret it. I was kind of stunned that it happened and came out so late. Truck teams penalized at Homestead for having an implication on the race. Premium Motorsports, Rick Rare, Spire Motorsports for manipulating the results of the race there. What'd you guys think?
Well, we what was it with CJ Walliver, dude? I said, how can NASCAR unshoot itself in the foot?
Unshoot itself in the foot was the right
with
way
some
to
of the
put
stuff.
it.
Hey, if you're going to put a championship that relies on this one race, then you are shooting yourself in the foot, or painting yourself in a corner, more or less. Of things can happen, and you got to be prepared for what comes of that. I'm not sure NASCAR was prepared for that eventuality and that inevitability, I would even say. I don't know what to say. Bullspit. Hey, NASCAR, you painted yourself into this corner, so you got to unpaint yourself out. And they're trying to do it legislatively, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. Hey, you agreed in the terms of service that this is a thing that can happen, and so don't unagree at this point.
There we go.
Well, the way I would address it is NASCAR spent a solid 25 years not describing to the fan public why it was okay for people to start and park and just make some crap up about what was broken on their car and the reason why they went to the garage. So then we ended up with the Team Alliance deal where people were like, all right, well, we need, if we're going to get a guaranteed starting spot, we need people to not make money after the 36th spot or the 35th spot or whatever you want to do it, because there were teams making money just pulling into the garage and saying, yeah, our power steering broke, and they just blew it under the covers. So how did you not expect that this was going to happen at some point?
I said CJ Walliver. That was actually Orange Cone, because he got a little upset about it in terms of when I said unshoot itself in the foot. But I just wanted to make sure I made that correction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this was going to happen at some point because NASCAR is so unwilling to divulge information. I think that's the biggest thing we should be talking about. Is not so much, okay, did this team get penalized for altering the owner points of a race? Yes, they clearly did. And NASCAR, it took them 2 weeks to figure out that's what happened. But they spent 2 decades not telling us what the deal was with starting parks. And then the race.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It was bound to happen at some point in time in terms of this happening. Maybe not necessarily even a championship race, just at a race in general.
Right.
Well, I mean, what did it do for the 27 truck? Did it give them an automatic starting spot for the Daytona 500? Well, even if all those guys lost all those points, they probably still came out on top because they get their starting spot in the Daytona 500.
Yep.
Or, whatever the truck's version of that is.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right. I've got one more, unless you guys have anything else that you want to throw in beforehand.
Have at it.
All right. We started the NASCAR talk off with the 2019 season left you, and we filled in the blank there. What change to the 2020 schedule has you most intrigued?
Pocono. End of story. Drop mic. I'm done. Pocono.
Pocono.
There we go. We're in agreement.
Andy?
Yeah, I'll go with Pocono. The Pocono, the doubleheader, is an interesting one for NASCAR, and I think what effect is having the final race at Phoenix going to have? I think it might be a little bit of an error.
Well, I think it's all right. So I kind of knew that Rusty and Sherwin were going to go Pocono, so I didn't want to say Pocono. Andy, I'm with you there. I think it's going to be a flop, and I think what's going to happen to that is going to be better for the sport in that we're going to end up maybe getting a rotating championship, which I think would be cool. But that said, for me next year, I am most intrigued to see whether or not, we were talking about shooting themselves in the foot, I am intrigued to see what a quote-unquote plate track for the last race of the regular season does with moving that to Daytona.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
See, I'm perhaps
fist
unique
fight
because I don't know about you, but I know these two don't particularly like quote unquote plate racing. I love it. See, because that's what, when we were growing up, see, for us that was NASCAR when we were younger. You see, that's what over here. That's what you saw was NASCAR. You didn't see mile and a halves and short tracks. All we ever saw was Daytona. So I love it.
Sherwin, go.
No, don't start on me. It's nearly 2 a.m. Don't start on me now.
Here's my thing. Is we've said it, and then suddenly I've heard other people say it, and I'm going to say I'm going to call first on this, Sherwin. Me and you were the first to say that Talladega has turned into the racers' plate race, and Daytona is still the it's you said it's almost 2 a.m. It's the shit show of of racing. And so to me, there is good plate racing and there's bad plate racing. If we want to talk about Daytona, I don't think that's good plate racing. So say what you will about plates, but I don't know about Daytona in some sort of championship perspective. That's it's a coin flip, toss up. Who knows what?
Well, what it'll turn the whole thing into is a bigger, idiotic spectacle of what we already have, right?
Yep.
So you got the one race deal, and we've had 6 years in a row the person who's won the race has won the championship, and that's probably a good thing in a lot of ways. I can't imagine going an entire race or entire race season the way we did this year or any other year, and you get to Daytona and something weird happens and 17 cars wreck, and then we have another wreck with 12 cars. You have 6 cars running around. I don't think NASCAR can afford for that to happen.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't think all the fallacies of what plate racing is belong in the final race, because I think it only opens you up to look stupid.
Yeah,
I agree, because we look at what we've had the last couple July Daytonas, and all that it's going to do is maybe let that Ricky Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, who might be in the top 30 in points, who squeak their way into the 16th spot because they end up winning a crapshoot race, the last regular season race, and they're going to be out 3 races later. So,
thing is, yeah, you say that, but because I always enjoy it, but I'll say a couple of things. Firstly, the person that squeaks in his 16th spot is never going to win the championship anyway. That's just not how it works. And so it doesn't really matter who's, in reality, from 8th to 16th, it doesn't matter who it is, because they're not going to win the championship. That's just not, history hasn't sort of suggested that. And I think that I think that it's always been the same. As long as I've been watching NASCAR anyway, it's always been an absolute lottery, those particular races, and it's not a surprise to anybody. So I actually don't see what difference it makes, to be honest.
Well, so maybe I missed the point here. I thought Brandon was saying that Daytona would be the last race of the season.
Likewise.
No, the regular season.
Regular season.
Oh, regular season. Oh, my bad.
All right, well, that changed.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, me and Sherwin were on the same wavelength here. If you want Daytona to be the last race of the regular season, okay,
no,
fine.
that's a terrible idea.
Well, that's
a terrible idea.
See, okay, now we're all in agreement.
Okay, all right. So I missed a word in there somewhere.
Me too. We're on that. At least 50% of this was on on the same wavelength here. No, you wanted those last races of the season? Sure, why not? F it. I don't care.
Great stuff, yeah. Last 2 races, Talladega and Daytona.
Oh Jesus, I don't know about that.
I want to see the last race be at Darlington.
There you go.
That would be cool.
Amazing. That would be very cool. That would be very cool. All right. I think we've kept Andrew up way past the candle is probably burnt at both ends. Right?
Definitely past my bedtime, that's for sure.
All right. Let's close this thing out. Lap Traffic Nation, PETM Posse. That is going to do it for episode 161 of the Lap Traffic Podcast, 223 of the PETM Podcast. Andrew, where can everybody follow you and the show and keep up to date on some happenings with the MOATF Podcast as 2020 rolls in?
Well, you can follow us on at MOATF Podcast, which is where David tweets from when he shows up.
Yeah, and give him some crap.
Yeah, we need some help.
I certainly will. And then you follow me at Fiat Racer 28, but you're most likely to get me talking about running and things on there rather than NASCAR because I'm boring.
And you will be making a return to the Lap Traffic Fantasy League next year.
100%.
Excellent.
That's drinking words.
Drinking.
Rusty, Sherwin, where can everybody follow you guys at, and what do you guys have going on next week?
Well, y'all know what the deal is. You can find us at PTM Podcast, PTMPodcast.com. I'm Tailgate Mayor at Rusty Wallace. No, the other way around. I'm Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor. One of the two.
And I'm at Pregame Engineer on Twitter.
You can't even think about it. I've broken Sherwin.
And at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram.
Yeah. Next week, Sherwin, what do we have next week? We're probably just trying to figure out what what we're going to do.
I'm still trying to figure out who to put on there.
Yeah, we might just sit around and talk spit about each other.
We might.
Nothing wrong with that. And you can follow me at Lap Traffic PC. Next week, the big award show. Very excited for that. Going to have a lot of fun with that. Sydney Lett is taking us out for sure. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!
Woo! Woo! Skew!
We're off, boys. Oh, fantastic.
Excellent.
That was fun.
We're still live on the YouTube, and we're going to shut that down.
Excellent.
Hey, YouTubers, thank you for joining along. Had a absolute blast. Shoot, how long was that recording? If I look, 1 hour and 49 minutes.
Shy of an hour 50.
Yeah, that's a new record there. So thank y'all for joining. We'll catch y'all later. Peace out.